Live.
Hello, all.
Hello. For those of you who don't understand what that is, because we do have a younger audience mixed in with a,
Oh, they're just going to have to get a Seinfeld reference.
Seinfeld. Hey, Jerry.
Hi,
everybody.
all.
Smash that like button. Good evening. Welcome to Generational Change. It is the last week of June. My God, does time fly? It really does, doesn't it?
Yeah. So welcome to Monday night, Generational Change. I'm Jen.
I'm Peter, and we had a conversation. We didn't even have a conversation. We just had ESP. We knew that I was going to wear the purple shirt tonight, and Jen was going to wear the white and purple jersey.
We're just in sync that way.
Yes, we are in sync that way. But of course, if you want to get one for yourself, just become a $10 Patreon member, and bingo, you get one of those. We got one of these. Become a sponsor of our show. It really helps. And obviously, as you know, all of that goes back into the community. One of the main topics we are going to talk about tonight is the importance of what we do in terms of how we contribute back to the community. And that is going to be our topic of conversation with, of course, Zeina Wolland of Mobile School Pantry. So that should be a really fun conversation. So how are you doing this evening?
I am good. I've come to accept not having my flat iron. So, everyone's going to get used to seeing me kind of like this for the next few weeks. But
it brings out your facial features.
I just don't care enough to get it sent. And Elvira, we do know about Mike Ravel.
We made a post yesterday. I mean, there's not enough that we can say about Mike and what he meant. And, it was more of a, my political coming of age period was basically between, 2000 and 2008. And, I didn't really pay as much attention. I didn't really understand as much as I ultimately was able to learn about Mike Ravel. After the fact, he was Bernie before Bernie really took off.
Well, I think of Mike Ravel the way I think and remember Paul Wellstone, and people who don't remember, but that is why that, when whatever happened and after Wellstone died, and then they had Jesse Ventura. So Minnesota actually has a fairly good reputation of having some progressive values.
Minnesota was the one state that voted for Mondale. So there you go. I guess they could kind of hang their hat on that. The most popular conservative president maybe ever lost one state, and that was Minnesota. But
I'm just saying that Mike Ravel was in line with that Paul Wellstone Democrat, and which is truly what the FDR style Democrats are supposed to be. And I even think more so than the FDR in that era, because we know that they had a lot of ulterior motives. But I think that Mike Ravel was a person of service.
No, Mike Ravel definitely was. And, somebody who did serve in the military. He was a lot of different things. He had quite a, he had a story, unlike many, and he was willing to put himself on the line. But I think that probably, his best, the best part of his legacy was the fact that he held a 5-month filibuster in the Senate to basically squash, the draft. And there were people who were, again, Donald Trump and Joe Biden were draft dodgers of the Vietnam War. So it's not like there wasn't an interest in not seeing us go into Southeast Asia for no other reason other than just to further the military industrial complex. They say that they were fighting, communism, but in reality, it's just more proxies for natural resources. That's all this ever is. That's all it's ever going to be. Anything that you're seeing right now, we're not going to cover it tonight, but obviously on Thursday we're going to go really in depth on Biden in regards to bombing Syria and Iraq, and of course corporate media is not covering it.
We have a lot though tonight, because I essentially have 2 pages of news, even though I did one that was just all, justice. So, we have a lot.
Well, we could cover one of those right now before we bring in our first guest. So which one would you want to hop into? Which would be...
Are you wanting... Well, I don't care. We could do Focus on Florida, or we could do the Eye on Justice. There were 3 legal stories. So they just sort of made sense to go together.
Well, why don't you put your lawyer hat on since you created this? This is a new eye on justice. So let's jump into that. So this looks like an interesting topic here that I think has obviously some considerable relevance. You see a lot of the liberals who were jumping up and down about, trying to get Merrick Garland onto the Supreme Court or as the attorney. Well, first it was the Supreme Court. Now, obviously, as the attorney general. But people forget he is a Republican. They want to kind of glaze over that whole idea that this guy's a conservative. I'm like, no, he is. He may not be conservative to the degree that Antonin Scalia was, but my goodness, it's like you're trying to pretend like this guy.
Merrick Garland is not evangelical. Okay,
no,
he's seemingly reasonable.
He is reasonable. I do think that, there is this idea that there can be reasonable conservatism. I absolutely believe that. I mean, look, I lean libertarian on a number of issues, as do you.
They're going after the state of Georgia. They're going after it for that voting act, that voting law that's going to restrict voting. And I appreciate that is something he is taking up. I think it's very important.
Well, it's also, it speaks to a greater problem here, which of course is, the GOP, as it's currently constructed, is not willing to change from taking corporate special interest money. So because they are really losing the narrative in terms of being able to espouse policy that's going to benefit people, they just want to suppress the vote. They feel that that's the only way that they can continue winning, unless they change their platform and the way they take money. But they're not willing to do that. So what do? They cheat. That's it. That's their answer. Their answer is to cheat. And they're going to do it here in Florida. We know that that's how this is going to work. They don't have as much need to do it in Florida as they would need to do it in a state like Georgia, because Georgia has Orlando, Tampa is not where Atlanta is just yet in terms of it being this progressive liberal bastion.
But, they didn't, the fact that they are, going after them for this is, I think, a positive sign.
Yeah.
And, look, they're taking an interest, which I think is really good. But more importantly than that, Derek Chauvin was sentenced to 22 and a half years. I want to point out that he got 2 5-year upward increases to what would have been a sentence, the median sentence. So it was supposed to be 12 and a half years, which if he didn't have aggravating factors, there were several that the judge highlighted that were as to why he increased it. But I'm going to just wrap it up is that he's just an uber douche. And so because of that, he got an additional 10 years. And quite honestly, he definitely deserves it. He deserves the 40 as far as I'm concerned. But the reality is he's probably not going to make it 10. So, we could do the over under on that.
That's really what it comes down to. I think the 22.
I would be happy to host the over under on that. I think that all it takes is one day in general population and he's toast. So, I don't know.
I would definitely agree with that. But what I would say is that 22 and a half years, believe it or not, is actually a victory because it is a deterrent to cops.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no way.
I agree.
There is no way that you want to spend. No cop wants to spend 22 and a half years of their life in prison.
No cop is making it more than 5 years.
Yeah,
he's not making it
because Yeah, and again, you want to say that he's a martyr to some degree? Yeah, maybe. But you know what? If it sets precedent, that's really what it comes down to.
Hey.
Much like the police officer who shot Tamir Rice. If there's the police officers who still could be tried for shooting Breonna Taylor. There are certain cases that are still outstanding that could be brought to the forefront now and say, well, now you have precedent with Derek Chauvin. These are unjustifiable homicides. And something must be done.
Did you see what I wrote? Did you see what I wrote there?
Will be able to
It says, question, will Chauvin be able to freeze his Klan membership during his incarceration? That I just, I thought of that because I had to freeze.
Well, if I remember correctly, when he was incarcerated, or before he was incarcerated, they were obviously going through a lot of his social media and things like that. And it turns out that he had, there was a lot of what you would call very racially charged posts and things like that, which is not surprising. So, needless to say, he's got, he's not going to have a fun time in prison. That's for sure.
Oh no! Because actually, what's interesting is he is the only level below pederast. The only level below pederast in prison is bad cop. So really, it's just it's all it takes is few minutes in general population for him, and that's a shame. And then
the question is, are they going to keep him in solitary for the entire time he's in prison? I can't see why they would do that.
See, that's the thing about when you're a dirty cop or when you're a bad cop. Because the guards don't protect you either. They don't really care. That's the thing. See, they don't care. So, he's not making it. Let me tell you that. He's not coming out on the other end of that sentence at any time. He's definitely the other thing.
And the last thing, yes, go ahead.
No, I was just going to talk about this case. This is like similar to the mind police thing going on here, but this is really authoritarian and scary, that our Supreme Court has ruled against the people that were wrongly accused as terrorists and were seeking redress for that. This ruined people's lives. Like, I don't think people understand that this ruined people's lives. And now this court, and of course, thanks to, the new presence of Amy Coney Island or whatever her name is, now you've got whatever. Now you have, they're saying this to me is unconstitutional. Like, this is really an example of a very conservative court basically creating law, or actually taking away a law. Okay. Like, right to seek redress against the government is a pretty significant thing. And I just, and of course, you've got Kavanaugh, Coney Island, like leading the charge on this. So, but I just think people should be aware that this is now a thing. So you may have lost your right to sue for redress of grievances against the state. And I think that's scary. So our rights continually be eroded. I just think we need to be aware.
I think that we are becoming more aware of the fact that our justice system does not work for us. It works against us. And I think that that's something that, again, I think most people don't know their rights. They don't know the Constitution. They don't know that you can actually. There's a lot. There is more that is supposed to be in place to actually aid you than it is to work against you. We have found a way to turn it into the opposite, but of course we know why. It's a for-profit industry. And so having a justice system that is on the take just makes it that much worse. But, the more citizens become aware of these loose laws or poor interpretations of the law in general, I think that is slowly but surely changing. Just like I think it's becoming much more in terms of the common vernacular, like we talked about Medicare for all becoming the common talking point when it comes to healthcare. I think ending qualified immunity is slowly but surely becoming one of the more common components to how we deal with police reform in the United States. And it's fairly easy to understand.
And I agree with that. I agree with ending qualified immunity. And like we've talked about, that helps on the civil side, but that does not really do anything to address the criminal side. And so this was definitely a victory. And I don't, and we shouldn't be too excited about it, because the reality is it was a slam dunk. So the fact that we're celebrating a conviction on something that was on video is just crazy to me. Something is not right. Like, the camera is looking blurry. You're looking blurry.
I'm looking blurry?
It doesn't look crisp at all. Like, you look blurry.
Wow. I look fine. I'm looking in the camera right now. There's no issue. Yours looks fine.
Okay.
I mean, the only thing that I can see is that the Wi-Fi connection might be low. That's something that might need to be.
Right. I'm just telling you, you look kind of blurry, but you look blurry.
Well, guys, tell me, do I look blurry? Anybody in the audience, let me know. I need a thumbs up, thumbs down. What's going on? I don't care what Jen has to say. She's out in the boonies right now.
And yet
I need somebody to let me know if my view is actually correct.
I don't think you look right.
All right. All right. Well, we'll find out soon enough.
Let's get it going.
That said, we do have our first guest. Yes, we have our first guest, so we're going to bring in. So one of the things, as you guys know, that we like to do on the show is uplift as many grassroots, non-corporate, nonpartisan candidates as we possibly can. because I'm blurred. No, I see you as
Told
blurry.
you.
Yep, so I'm blurred. Okay, so now I gotta message Jason, see if there's anything that could be done. But in the meantime, we are going to bring in our first guest because Jason and I can figure this out while you and Mikayla have your conversation, and I'll just tag along.
Oh, okay, if that's how you want to do it. All righty.
Yeah, no, the connection is unstable. If you're on Wi-Fi, try plugging to your
You're
router.
unstable. Where's
I'm
Declan?
unstable.
Peter's getting violent.
Yeah, I'm getting violent now. All right, so as I was saying, we are going to bring in a very special guest who is running to represent New York's 22nd Congressional District. And you know what? Maybe it isn't so crazy. If India Walton could become the next mayor of Buffalo, then anything is possible in upstate New York. Without further ado, Mikayla Ridley, welcome to Generational Change.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. It's nice to meet both of you. Kind of meet.
Hi, and I actually feel like I kind of know you.
I feel like I know I campaigned a little bit for you. I helped a little bit with calling in your previous campaign.
Oh,
actually.
not because of that. I'm on the board for Catch Fire. So
okay. Well, that would
so
also
I was privy to your interview. So I feel like I've already watched you. You just don't know us. But talk a little bit about yourself, what your background is, and then talk about where is New York's 22nd.
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as my background, I've really spent my career so far in the nonprofit and education sector. That's really one of the issues that I am most passionate about. I've dedicated my career to public service. That's what excites me. It's what I like doing. And overall, it has really led me towards a career in politics. Throughout my career so far, I've really been trying to kind of work on the ground, kind of solving these problems at the local level. And I kind of realized over time that there are all these systemic issues that I'm really trying to solve macro problems with these micro solutions. There are so many problems with the way that our education system works, the way our healthcare system works, the way our criminal justice system works, that yes, the local level, the small change, the activism is so incredibly important, but Congress needs to do a certain amount of work first in order for real change to be possible. So that really drove me to deciding to run for Congress, even though it definitely is a very interesting district to run as a progressive for sure. New York 22, to kind of explain the geography of it, New York districts upstate are significantly larger. So our district actually spans from the border of Pennsylvania all the way up towards the Great Lakes. So it's actually a pretty big district. And a heavily split one. We were the last congressional race to be decided in the 2020 election.
Do you cover Utica?
No, Utica currently is in the district to the west of us.
Okay, so that's
a good chance that we could absorb Ithaca, or that we could be absorbed into Ithaca after the district lines change, but currently we don't.
No, my son goes to school there, so I was and I've spent time there, so I was just asking. So when you're looking at like what's going on right now in this country, I mean, it looks pretty crazy. Like what are the main issues like that you see that you think we really need to be fighting for? I mean, obviously you qualified for Catch Fire, you satisfied our 21 question, thing, but talk about like really, what are the key issues? Like if you had to pick three, what are your top three issues?
Yeah, I would say my top three issues are education reform, healthcare reform, and social justice, which definitely includes criminal justice reform. So I'm kind of including a fourth one in there. But those are definitely my big three, largely because of my own personal experience as well as my career experience. Obviously, I've been working in education since I graduated from college, and I've seen firsthand how broken that system is, how many ways it's supposed to be the great equalizer. That's supposed to be the point of education. It's supposed to be this tool that everyone has access to that allows everyone to be successful as long as they put in the work and they're intelligent and they
you don't
hard.
think it shouldn't just be for elitists so that or everyone else can go into lifelong debt and pay off for eternity?
I don't feel that it should be for the purpose of growing the wallets of Sally Mae executives. I don't feel like that's a good system. No.
Yeah. So obviously you would be in favor of loan forgiveness.
Yes.
I mean, I support personally. I think there should be a debt jubilee. And the fact that we are capable of doing that, and that it wouldn't do anything bad to like the overall sense of our security as a country, and yet they don't do it, that should be a sign for everyone that they truly just do not care. Because it can be done. It's not like it's like some ridiculous thing. It could actually, Joe Biden can do it now. Yeah.
And it's definitely, it's an interesting, my research lead on the campaign has talked to me a lot. We've discussed kind of the possibility of that. And it's interesting how much Republicans know that and try to pretend like they don't. Like I found it very interesting when the discussions were coming up about, sending out survival checks during COVID. And so many Republicans were saying, no, we can't give people money. They just use it to pay down debt. They know that paying down debt wouldn't help the economy.
Right.
They're aware of that. So it's interesting to me when they're like, oh no, it wouldn't help the economy for us to forgive student loans or to forgive medical debt. That definitely wouldn't help the economy. And yet they know that paying down debt would not stimulate, like they know that's a problem. So it's kind of interesting to watch Republicans in Congress try to explain that.
I wish I could say the Democrats were much better, but really what this comes down to is MMT. And when you accept that as a sovereign nation, we issue our own currency and we can control that, and our only limitation is a limitation of resources, which we don't have a limitation of resources. That's why we can have Medicare for all. That's why we could have tuition-free college. Like we can do all of those things. And yet they have the entire populace brainwashed into believing that life is like this pie, and if you like a household budget, and that's just not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Not at the federal level. States, yes, but so. But one of the things that is just so incredible to me is that we have three of the most necessary structural infrastructure items in this country: healthcare, corrections, and public education. And we have all three of those for profit. And that to me is the sign of the implosion or the end stages of capitalism, kind of like where you've crossed over, your level of greed has crossed over into where, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's crossing over. So, how do you see that in terms of like, what are the implications for the, those industries being taken out of the profit sector? And I mean, I'm assuming that's sort of like up your line of thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially when it comes to things like Medicare for all and having, just in general, having a single payer healthcare system. I think a lot of people argue that it is going to be so much more expensive, that we can't afford it because it's going to be this huge additional expense. And a lot of people, I think, also think about, government as this huge bureaucracy, which it kind of is. I work for the government. I'm well aware of how much bureaucracy the government can unnecessarily add to things. But in terms of healthcare, insurance industry, the entire insurance industry is pure bureaucracy. That's all that it is. That the entire industry is just nothing but bureaucracy. So eliminating that industry right there, that would save a ton of money. And the other thing, like when I think about the idea of the fact that it's a for-profit industry, the fact that our healthcare system runs on capitalism, that's inherently a terrible idea, because capitalism is supply and demand. It's the idea that the market will self-regulate based on supply and demand. And we're talking about life-saving medications and treatments and surgeries. There's no limit to the demand. People will pay literally anything for the thing that keeps them alive. So when you just think about it on the very basic level of, this is not a system that works with capitalism. Capitalism is great in other sectors. It does not make any sense to apply it to a public service like healthcare or like education or like our prison system. There are certain systems where just a capitalist mentality will inherently cause problems. It's great in certain ways. It's not good for our fundamental structure of our society, the basic things that we just need to function.
That's what I say. I mean, like for me, if you want to, make widgets, non-necessary widgets, and they cost you $1 to make, and people are willing to pay you $100 for your stupid little fidget spinner or whatever thing it is that you're selling, all the power to you, man. ride that
Great.
gold-plated air
Yeah.
in the sky.
If
Right?
you can convince people your product's worth it, do it. Go for it.
Yeah.
Great.
The idea that we have, when you have these things as for profit, what you have is you have an incentive to incarcerate, you have an incentive to have people uncared for, and you have an incentive to have people uneducated. Mm-hmm. And that is extremely scary. Now, how people think that benefits us, and I always say those things aren't costs, they're investments. Mm-hmm. And how are we supposed to function with those things when all the money is funneling to one group of people and they're not serving us? But talk about what the political climate is in your district. What historically has it been like? Do you have any sort of in with the local Dems, or what's that like there?
Yeah, so the politics in the district are very interesting because I've had many conversations with voters, with kind of some of the local party elites and stuff like that. And it's very interesting. The district is very much portrayed as like, oh, this is a conservative district, and kind of as a way of like telling me to go away. Like, no, you're a progressive. We don't vote for progressives here. And I always find it very interesting because I don't think of political affiliation as an identity. Like it's not something that's core to who you are. It's how you think we should solve societal problems. So I think it's something that's very flexible, that's open to, well, have you thought about it this way? Because maybe we could actually solve that problem with a different approach than what you instinctively think we should do. So a lot of people have been telling me that, the district's just too conservative, that it's not possible for a progressive to win here. But we've had progressive policies in the country before. Progressive policies are used in every other wealthy nation in the world. We know it works. We know it's good for 99% of the population. So the idea that it's impossible to convince 50% of the population to agree with that, I don't think that's true.
Exactly. They use those labels to keep us divided, but the reality is it's not really a line, it's really a circle. And, like we have things in common on the back end with people that might seem like totally opposite. And a lot of those are basically populist and worker labor issues that are pretty universal. And right now that, like, we always talk about that on our show. That to us is the key to any sort of movement forward, is this sort of coalition of labor, sort of like yellow vests. And that's really what we're all about. So welcome back. You look clear now.
You do look clear now. You did look blurry earlier. You do look clear now.
We had to put a hard wire in because I should have known, because I was trying to post before and the post took forever. And I'm thinking, well, maybe we probably should restart the internet. But nevertheless, Mikayla, I think, again, the key here, anytime you're running a grassroots campaign, is obviously knowing the district, knowing the relationships that need to be built with various local officials, as well as, the volunteers that you need to have in terms of having a fighting chance to be competitive. So I'm curious, are you already formulating some strong relationships? Because I think that's one of the things that I recommend to anybody who's trying to uproot an entrenched system. It's obviously a little different in more rural parts of the country, but nonetheless, those things are still very vital.
Yeah, we're definitely, we are reaching out to the local Democratic committees and progressive and grassroots organizations in the area. We're reaching out to voters. We're looking for, grassroots endorsements and things like that to kind of help get our name out there early on. It definitely, it's such a strange political system because there's a part of me as a candidate that goes, oh, it shouldn't work this way. I don't like that it works this way, but it does. And you kind of have to play into that enough that you can get a seat at the table and fix the parts of the system that are broken. You
sound like us. That's so funny. I'm always saying that to him. I'm like, I shouldn't have to play with these people. This is not how this is supposed to work.
Yeah, I'm like, this is so heavily broken. This is not democracy at all. There's this handful of people that functionally control politics, and that doesn't sound, but it does. So yeah, there's a part of me that's like, I don't like this, but I know it's what's going to work.
But your incumbent's a Republican.
Yes, my incumbent, or at least as the district lines currently stand. With how spread out New York is, like, we could change dramatically. We could be in a completely and totally different district.
Yeah, for everyone who doesn't know, they're losing a seat.
Yes, we are losing a
Florida's
seat in New York.
gain is New York's loss, and they're losing a seat. And Peter, you're blurry again.
Or New Yorkers are moving to Florida, so
Peter, you're frozen again.
I'm frozen again?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Okay, go.
All right. Well, I'll see.
Just, I don't know what's happening to you. Maybe it's because I'm not there. It's bad mojo. I'm so sorry. We're having I always figured that we'd have the technical problems would be me up here in the mountains, and yet he's the person with the technical problems. I don't know what
technology. It never really makes
tell
sense.
Tell everyone where they can find you, and I'll put it in the chat so everybody can sign up, and people, she needs support, phone bankers, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, tell me where we can find you.
Yeah, so our website is ridleyforcongress.com. So RIDLEY FOR Congress. I know some people use the number for it. It's FOR Congress. That's the same for our Facebook page. It's at Ridley for Congress. Our Twitter, we tried to use the same one for all 3 platforms, and it did not end up working.
Okay.
Our Twitter is Ridley for NY22. And then to make things interesting, our Instagram is the number 4. It's Ridley, the number 4. Congress.
But your social media links are on your website, yes?
They are all on our website.
This is
so
why
our website alone will really get you there. Yeah, our website alone is the main thing.
Okay. So go ahead, close out, say what you're really going for and what you're trying to do, and let people know how they can help.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am really running for Congress because I think we need more people in Congress who genuinely represent average citizens from their district. I think that we are sorely lacking that right now. We have so many politicians in Congress who see the problems of average Americans as hypothetical, and that's a problem. When you see something as hypothetical, it changes the way that you address the problem. So I think we need more people in Congress who know what it's like to deal with student debt, who know what it is like to go to the doctor and be more concerned about the bill than you are about the test result, to know what it is like to be part of that shrinking middle class or really part of the lower class and think the system is so broken that you could never get out of that class. And I think we just need more people in Congress who genuinely understand that, because it changes not just what we do with our seat at the table, it changes how we walk into the room. So that's why I'm running for Congress. That's what I'm hoping to do, is bring the voice of the people back to Congress. I love talking to people about politics. I love just talking to people about the issues. So definitely reach out to us. Find us on our website, ridleyforcongress.com. There's tons of contact information on there, and we would love to hear from you and chat with you.
Thank you so much, Mikayla. It was nice to actually meet you.
Yes.
And I will say, I don't care about the secret ballot. I voted to endorse you. So whatever happens, it's not on me. That's all I can tell you. And I don't know, because this is the first time I've ever been part of an organization like that. But I think you're great, and I wish you a lot of luck. And we'll have you back on when we get closer.
Okay. Sounds great. Right. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, also, of the 2 of us over the summer with me in Asheville, I was really not expecting Peter to be the one with technical problems, and yet there he is. So I am up here, and I am going to go ahead and I'm going to bring Z in. So for anybody who doesn't know, GenCorp, from some of the earliest days of our campaign, was a service campaign, and one of the organizations that we serve is Mobile School Pantry, which is a local organization in South Florida that really gives healthy food to the kids and the families in the schools where kids have the most free and reduced lunch. So basically the families that are most in need have an opportunity to get food from the pantry. And Z started this. It was her brainchild. She's amazing. And so we always help there. And now it's going through a little bit of a revamp, and we're going to get to hear all about the new mobile school pantry system. I get to learn all the new ways in which I'm going to get to probably bust ass in some form or another, lugging boxes or touching disgusting smushy produce. I don't know. Let's bring her in. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
How are you?
Touch any kind of produce. Just scared of some produce.
See, why are you choppy? And people out there, tell me if Z is choppy, or if is this one of those things where I'm really the choppy one, but everyone else looks choppy?
No, you're clear.
Okay, you're choppy and you're kind of breaking.
Hold on. My volume
Oh
up.
God, people! I'm the person up in a trailer in the mountains, and I'm the person with the better Wi-Fi.
That's hilarious. Welcome to South Florida.
Bronx, we will cover the Surfside building situation when we get to focus on Florida. We haven't done that yet. We will talk about it. We have a couple of specific articles about it. My cousin is one of the people in that search and rescue team. So I think Peter's coming back. All right. Anyway, so now Z, you're looking clearer now. Peter?
Where's Peter?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're still chopping.
Yeah, as an organization, I know that we're just so heartbroken to see what's going on in the community, but we're also inspired by all those who stepped forward to help, and we're praying for all the families, and it's just so heartbreaking.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking for the people there, but it really needs to be a wake-up call for the rest of us, because the reality is they keep building and building and building, and they're not addressing the sea level rise and saltwater intrusion. And I know look, this is going to be the beginning of other things happening like this. And it's unfortunate, but it should be a wake-up call. All right, you're frozen. Okay, this is not great, Peter, because Z's frozen, you're blurry, and I'm sneezy. So I'm not exactly sure what to do, but this is not great. So do you want me to do news and amuse? I think we just lost Z. Are you here or not here?
I am. I think I'm here. Am I here?
Not well. No, it's choppy and blurry.
Well, listen, I'm doing the best I can right now.
No, I know. I just don't know what to do. You want me just to do new? I'll just go into focus on Florida, I guess, and do it.
If you want to do that, I mean, again, there may be a Comcast outage problem in the area. I don't know if that's what the issue is, but everything's just everything's freezing right now, and of course, I'm kind of trying to fix this on my own. So let me try again.
You there?
I'm here. Apparently, everything in Florida. I mean, maybe that building collapse took out the cable systems for you guys down there. I don't know what's going on.
It's really crazy. No, and it's funny that you're in the mountains and fine.
I know, but you're frozen. Like, you keep freezing. Is this where you normally sit for your meetings and stuff?
No, I'm hiding from my 5-year-old's bedtime.
Yeah, well, your hiding is making it very difficult for you to get the Wi-Fi.
I work from this room a lot too. It's this little playroom. So, I mean, I'm in here a lot too.
All right, I'm not sure what I should do. It's not great, and I'm not sure what to do because it's kind of really choppy. Yeah, Blue Bandit says it's the connections. If it's voice only, well, yeah, we could probably do that. I mean, but then nobody would get to see how pretty Z is, although it makes me look better if she goes away. That always helps. Okay, yeah, Peter says to tell you to go audio.
Okay.
And Peter, can you do that maybe? Or are you still going to be choppy?
Should I leave and then come back with audio? Is that how it's going to work?
How's that?
Yeah. Right. Hold on a second. Yeah. All right. Let me hear you. Go ahead.
How's that?
It's better.
That's what we're going to have to do because I can't fix this. I tried resetting the modem. It's not working. And Jason and Graham have decided that they need to do ice cream. So,
all right. Don't put this on my family. But the truth is the audio is not great. The audio is not great either. And this is.
It's not?
It's better than it is with the video, but it's not great. So be clear, and we'll just do the best we can. And here's Z on audio. All right, Z, you there? Is she there? Z, you there?
I'm here.
Okay. This just doesn't sound good, guys. It just doesn't sound good. So I'm not exactly sure what to do. People out there, if you're listening, like, why don't you guys talk a little bit and let people hear what this is? Because I think it's not going to go.
Yeah, I'm trying to work on that right now. I'm basically being text. We'll walk through this process of potentially restarting the modem. I thought I restarted, but apparently that was not what happened.
All right. Yeah. See, it sounds horrible. Z, let me hear how you
All right.
sound.
Hang on.
I think I'm just going to jump on for my phone. Just give me a second.
All right.
All right. Hang on one second.
Bear with me.
Guess it's a good thing I'm in Asheville, or you guys wouldn't be looking at anybody's mug. So, Peter, if you want to put on, focus on Florida, if you want to do that, I can do it. I could go through some of it while we're waiting. Because really, this was really your interview, and I really wanted to know like what the new plan was for them. So hopefully we'll get it together here. All right, guys, technical difficulties. Hold on. I guess now it's just me. And then there was one. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go into focus on Florida, because why not? Well, I got nothing better to do right now, and you guys are going to just sit here until we can talk to Z. So I will go ahead and do. Let's see what we got. Are you back? Let's see. Hold on.
I'm on the phone now.
You're on the phone now?
Yeah. Maybe it's better.
It's not better. It's still choppy. You're still kind of like you freeze every other second. You have a cute smile on your face, so I'm just going to let that go. But I'm not exactly sure what to do. And yeah, there you are. I see you.
Yeah, it keeps breaking up.
What is going on down there?
It's freezing.
What is going down on there?
What's going on? Lego.
All right, but it's better now than it was before right now. All right, now what's happening? Now we have a different one. Now you're on another stream.
Trying everything.
Oh, that works. You're there. It like seems good. What's that?
I have no idea.
All right, well, it seems to be good. So
Greater powers.
okay. So everybody, this is Z, and she's the queen of the mobile school pantry. And talk a little bit about I guess I want to know more about what you're going to be doing now, since the system is now being changed and whatever. So explain how it's going to work now, and how the new mobile school pantry is going to be serving the community.
Okay, so real quick, I'm Z. I'm Zeina Wolland, the founder of the Mobile School Pantry. Most people call me Z. And just to give you a brief rundown, if you're not a part of Jen's crew that comes out all the time, Mobile School Pantry's mission, we were founded in 2013, and our mission is to provide fresh fruits and vegetables to families and children at low-income schools throughout Broward County. And pre-COVID, we did this through our school pantry program that was set up in cafeterias of schools, and Jen used to come out during that time as well. And we used to set up tables with tablecloths and baskets that were overflowing with fresh fruits and vegetables. We would have anywhere from 15 to 25 different fresh fruits and vegetables at a given distribution, as well as non-perishables as well. But our focus is more on produce, because that's where really families struggle to eat healthy. Even though everyone should be able to access nutritious food, it's not so likely in some pockets of our community. So that is Mobile Mobile School Pantry's mission, our vision is we believe that everybody should have this access in order for us to have a vibrant society that's successful. And so during COVID, we shifted our, gears, and we came up with a new model to do it through a drive-through method, through the carpool lines of all of the schools that we served. And we did just that. And we would pre-pack bags up the State Farmers Market, which is a little different than our client choice school pantry that we were used to doing. But we were happy that we were still able to give out our food items. So Jen would come up there as well, and they would pack bags with us. We would pack about 200 to 250 bags weekly. And we would give out food through this carpool line in our grab and go method with awesome volunteers who would pack and then meet us at the school and give out all in the same day. And now that, we're all coming back to some kind of a new normal, we are preparing to go full force in August with our school bus, Sprout, that we had unveiled in 2020 pre-COVID, where families are actually going to be able to board the school bus, and they are going to be able to do their shopping on board, making us really mobile and allowing us to really reach more in our community. So we're have been switching gears this last month. This is the first time in 7 years that we've taken a pause in order to move forward for the betterment of our organization and the families that we serve. So we are focusing on Sprout this last month, and she's actually going out. I call her she a lot. She's a school pantry reaching out for unlimited healthy tomorrows. And she will be hitting the road in August at our schools at all 5 sites. We're going back to 5 sites. And now we have come up with a new innovative program. We thought, well, Sprout is servicing our schools and it's so wonderful. But, we focus on our mission, which is schools, but we do get a lot of calls from community partners wanting to do things with mobile school pantry. So we try to think outside the box here and thought of ways where we can also create some sustainability for us as an organization. We have no staff at Mobile School Pantry. It's a volunteer-driven organization. So it's so wonderful that, Jen and her team and all the people and individuals in our community who come out to help really have a big hand in the work that we do. And we really wouldn't be here without these awesome individuals in our community who really give from the heart, and not just give, they come and they sweat and they really work hard. They schlep boxes, like Jen said, and touch produce that sometimes is spoiled to sort through, to find the good stuff to save for our families, because food waste is real, and 40% of food goes in the garbage. And you get a box of lemons, maybe 10 are bad, but the other 70 or 200 lemons are fine. You just got to dig through and get the ones, rescue the ones that
you have to dig through.
Yeah,
I am not digging. Let me tell you something. I would rather be on box breakdown. I will deal dry goods.
Yeah,
I will lug boxes. I will work in the refrigerated truck with boxes. I do not want to touch skeevy produce. Okay.
Yeah. Jen, we steer Jen clear of the items that need a little more TLC. So we pick through things. We get through all that food waste. We get rid of it, and there's really beautiful produce left for our families. And outside of that, there are items that are really discarded if the temperature is a degree below what a supermarket would usually receive something at. They reject it, and then that becomes unwanted and undesirable produce, and it really is fine, and there's nothing wrong with it, and there's perfectly good food literally going into the garbage in America. And it's really sad to see it when we have so many in our communities who struggle to eat, and not only to eat healthy. And eating healthy, everyone thinks is so expensive and unaffordable, but there are tricks to shop in season, especially when you shop in season, when you purchase things that are locally grown, they're cheaper and they're tastier. And if you store these things at the right temperatures, you could freeze things and eat them throughout the year at an affordable price. And I really feel that our new model, we are coming out with this Wednesday, it's called Fill a Bag, Feed a Family. And this is going to help with our sustainability here. So when you fill a bag and you shop on board our bus, you will be able to feed a family at a school and help with our operations and our mission of sustainability by helping us with the cost of fuel for the bus and helping us employ somebody to drive the bus part-time. Sprout is really going into the communities with this new program. No matter where you live or how much money you make, is going to give that access to families at a really affordable cost to them, where they can eat healthy and be able to afford to eat healthy, and it not be, like $10 for a bag of grapes.
Right.
It would be more around the range of like $2 to $3. Like an apple would be like 50 cents an apple. So really, really affordable. Some of it organic, things that you would pay a great deal for in the market that you don't even get, you'll be able to afford. And Sprout's new model, fill a bag, feed a family. You'll be able to feed families while you do your own shopping, while feeding yours at a great cost.
So you're talking about expanding the basically the consumers, instead of just being the people that get the free food that are through the schools, you're opening it up to the broader community so that you can also raise money as well. So you're going to basically be,
we're looking at it as a fundraiser, kind of like a bake sale, but instead of selling sugar and cookies, we're selling healthy food. In return, raising funds to fund our operations and filling baskets at our schools for free for our families. And we're also partnering with different hospitals and organizations to do a pilot program with healthy prescriptions through the hospitals, where a hospital will give a script to a patient who needs to eat healthy and not just be given medicine. But food is medicine, and when you give your body the right food, 80% of diseases could be avoided if you just ate right. So that's another new program we're working with. We're working with the American Heart Association, University of Florida's nutrition program, and Memorial Healthcare System to possibly bring this program as early as September of this year to start once a month through the hospital providing this service as well.
So how do people get Sprout to come? Like what are going to be the different variables that determine where you go with that and how that works?
Absolutely. So right now we're focusing with this pilot program with the hospital. We believe slow and steady wins the race. And we're really focusing, bringing Sprout back into our schools is our main focus, as August is right around the corner. But as we move forward in the next few months, and Sprout is on her mission with the hospital and doing this pilot program, we're considering doing another pop-up once a month to start. And as we continue to grow, by the new year, we'll sit back down and reevaluate how much more can Sprout do. When we go back to our 5 sites at schools, we're going to be 1 a week. 1 week we're at 2. So, we really, again, it's a volunteer-driven organization. So we want to really go slow and steady, and we will determine this just by the zip codes we know that are underserved. There's an area in Pompano that doesn't have any services, and we'll target the areas that don't have access.
Liberia
Right.
needs some love for sure.
Absolutely. There are so many, in our community who are really lacking access, and there are barriers such as transportation that hinder them from, going to purchase healthy groceries. So the bus is going to hit those food deserts, and really that's where we're really going to determine where we go. We're hitting food deserts where they don't have access. A grocery store is not in proximity to them, and they don't have access or that transportation. So really zoning in on food deserts as we continue to move forward.
Okay, and how are people now going to be able to help? Because obviously you're not going to be needing the people at the drive-through, at the carpools and doing that. So what is going to be like the scope of where volunteers can come out and help the pantry?
So there's still going to be so many ways volunteers can come out. First, we're going back to basics of, doing food demos. Now we have families coming we're right at dismissal time at most of these schools. So you'll have families coming with their children still. So we're setting up little stations outside of, healthy coloring books, and working with partners like the University of Florida's nutrition program to do more food demos and to really provide more wraparound services. So it's going to be a little different, but when you come out, we're going to be there for a longer time. We're hoping to be there from 1 until 6 o'clock in the afternoon, where families have a long period of time. They don't have to wait in a long line. They can come at any time during that time. And the families who pick up their children right at in the aftercare program still have an opportunity to come and do some shopping too, where we're still hanging around and we can still give them the opportunity to get on the bus and do some shopping. And I have to say, there's just going to be a lot more connection with our families, kind of like customer service, where a volunteer is helping a family to their car now with their groceries to help them load it in the car. We'll have volunteers, sanitizing baskets right now because we are still in somewhat of a COVID life. So we'll be sanitizing baskets when you come off the bus, so we can reuse them and practice safety. And then you'll also be filling baskets as well, replenishing just like we would pre-COVID in the schools, but there won't be as many people on board. And it won't be.
I was going to ask you, how are you going to restock? Like, how do you keep, because I've been on the bus, and by the way, people, the bus is totally awesome. Basically, it's like a shopping aisle down the center of the bus, and there's racks on both sides that have like baskets of fruits and vegetables, and it's really cool. But so when you're at a school for like 5 hours, how do you have that like all stocked up? I mean, I know you haven't really done it yet.
No, so I'm very excited for this Wednesday because I know we're going to learn a lot of things. We have a lot mapped out, of course, and we have strategically planned our launch and our comeback. But I do foresee a lot of things. It's trial and error, and we'll learn as we go. But we really foresee. Initially, we have planned to bring out the refrigerated truck with us as well. So we'll have the truck behind to load access items. But I really feel that long time frame isn't going to be that quick, turnaround like we would in a normal 2-hour time frame in our normal giveaways. And we're going to be utilizing the right side of the bus where those wire shelves are, not the baskets, to have all of the extra cases of items kind of put in there, ready to load right directly to the left of you into baskets as well.
Okay. And then something I wanted to talk to you about, and this is more between you and me because we sort of touched on it the last time we saw each other. All right, let's just talk about it. But personal. No, but we had talked about, you know that I was involved with working in a community garden, and we had talked about, you had mentioned that you were very interested in having that be something that was going on at all of the schools, like really encouraging them to be doing their own sustainable gardens. And if for nothing else, just not even for like, the amount, not the quantity, but just for them to learn and see and all that. Yeah. Absolutely. So, I'd love to work on something like that. Like, I think that that's so important for them to learn. Sustainability, I think, is one of the most important things we need to be teaching them. Absolutely. And so where have you gotten in terms of talking with the schools about that?
Well, my Martin Luther King school, I love them over there. And the principal there, Ms. Moreau, she's amazing. And, when we were this last month, right before our pause, she showed me the garden. I had told her that my vision was, all these schools have so much land. When we talk about gardens and urban areas, like we have the land, and land is schools. Schools have so much land, and it just ties in with education, nutrition education, and just that hands-on science, math. It's everything in one, and it's an education in nutrition, especially when these children are taking food home with them, with a recipe card to their families. It's not going to change people overnight, but it certainly encourages people to kind of look outside of the normal foods they may be eating. And we're so culturally diverse here that we have to be doing these extra steps to teach people how to eat. Nobody's going to change their diets overnight. It's a slow education to that growth. And even myself in this last year, I would say, like, you just always are learning and eager to learn. And the more you read and the more you listen and see, and the more you change and implement, and you become a better you every day. So it's not an overnight change. You're not going to give up all the bad things you like, but you should certainly bring new things into your diet. All of us should always try new things, even things we may not like. It's kind of the saying with our children when they're younger. They tell you, if your child eats something once, they may not like it, but try it, another 5 to 6 times. Don't introduce it ever again. Reintroduce this food maybe in a different way, and they may love it. And I think as adults too, you might not like something one way, but you may like it a different way. And if you keep reintroducing it to yourself, you may fall in love with this item. If you eat it a certain way.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I love so much about Mobile School Pantry is that community connection. And for people who don't understand, if you've not come out to volunteer, you don't understand, because Z does not hesitate to hold up an entire line of cars to get a selfie with some cute kid in the back seat that she hasn't seen in a while. And we're like standing there like holy bags, and she's like having like a little powwow with the families in the car. So, but it's, I think that's so important, because communities are where we're ever going to be able to get our strength in anything. And we cannot bank on electoral politics or the government to help us. It's clear that that's not happening. So we have to rely on organizations that build up communities. I mean, that's really the only thing that's going to keep people sustained. And I think it's so important. And I love that you partner with so many different groups. And through you, I got connected with Everton and was able to distribute 100 amazingly cool hygiene packs to the homeless.
Life Night for Families is literally a life net for families. They do so much in the community. They're a food pantry. They do their showers there. The homeless people can receive their mail there. They help them with Social Security. They help them with so many different things. Yeah. And there's breakfast, lunch, and dinner served there outside of their normal food pantry. So, and then they do these school boxes that we are lucky to, and you saw how awesome these boxes were. And we were fortunate enough to get some too towards the end of the pandemic, and they're wonderful. They come, it was a perfect complement to our fresh with their dry and other staples in those boxes. I mean, honestly, schools are our hubs. Pre-COVID, that's where families spent the most time. That's where their children certainly spent the most time before COVID. And if we can re-engage families into their children and their children's education and the school environment that's raising them alongside of this parent, it's just a good synergy for the school, for the teachers, for the parents. Everybody connects. Miss Moreau, speaking of Martin Luther King, their school is so wonderful. If she's not at a distribution, one of her, community liaisons is Miss Moody, and they're all out there always connecting with their families. And I think that's so important that they, as a principal, she's so busy. But let me tell you, she always finds the time to come for a few minutes to interact with some of her family, say hello to some of the grandmothers raising the children. And let me tell you, those connections matter. And pre-COVID, she would sit in the line saying hello in the cafeteria to everybody. And it's a great informal way for her to connect with her children's parents and maybe if she saw them in the line, she kind of understands the full circle here and why maybe little Jimmy is misbehaving and in her class all the time. Well, he's hungry and, he's not eating enough food, and that's why he's misbehaving. And, and these children, if we teach them now how to eat healthy, they're just going to carry healthy habits for the rest of their lives. And they're going to really grow and be healthy and avoid an array of different health issues just because they were taught to eat healthy at a young age. You really have them, and we were saying this the other day at the meeting for the bus, we were saying, you have until 0 to 13 to raise your children. You want to pour in as much as you can in them from 0 to 13.
I'm screwed. It's too late for me. I missed that.
Development in the early stages of life, they're just so, when they say they're a sponge, like they really are. And like you can mold your children, at least give them the right path and set the right examples. When they ask, like, how do you encourage your child to eat healthy? Well, don't eat a bag of chips and then offer them a thing of apples. Like you have to encourage and be the example for your kids. And, take them shopping with you in the grocery store, make it fun for them. You have to have patience. It's not easy all the time, but if you don't do these steps, you really miss out on giving them the opportunities to really learn and grow and thrive in a healthy way. And let me tell you, if you spend a little extra on your health now, you'll thank me later, because your health insurance, your medical bills, your pills you have to take with so many side effects, you can avoid all these things if you just eat healthy.
So you see this question, Z? So Tim FVP, Z actually does partner with a lot of successful different people and gets money. She's very, very crafty at it. And she's in a good way. And so you do that, but talk a little bit about how you do work with like the private sector and different people to sort of help the organization.
Yes. Well, anybody who wants to donate to Mobile School Pantry, a dollar goes a long way. When we purchase some of the food items that aren't donated, we work with a lot of the wholesale companies, the biggest, produce companies in South Florida. And when we go to buy, let's say, like next week, I for Wednesday, I was able to get my hands on like a case of, apples, let's say. And, right before distribution last month, we got a case of grapes for $5 a case. Okay. And it had 10 bags of grapes in it. Do the math there. It's kind of crazy. So this, again, could be the temperature, could be a damaged pallet tips over. This is #2 quality produce. And some of it is so beautiful. You're like, what's going on here? Makes no sense. But it is what it is. I've seen such crazy dumpsters filled with mounds of cucumbers. Like some of the things you see, it's really crazy to see people struggling, and to eat healthy when all this healthy, beautiful produce, from peppers to squash. We produce too much. We just produce too much food, and we don't consume it. And it's like the demand for beauty. When you go to the store, you don't want tomatoes rolling off the shelf. You want to see the tomatoes rolling off the shelf. You don't want to see like a Lone Star tomato. So it's us, the consumer, that demands this, bountiful amount, and it really hurts because it's a waste. It's a waste. And it's bad for the environment. Think about what it takes to get your food to the grocery stores, from the water, the transportation, the fuel, the labor costs, all of it. It's expensive to get you that tomato, and we don't appreciate it enough. But so we have a good buying powers when you donate to us. $1 is about 8 pounds of fresh fruits and vegetables when we really stretch it. And we accept donations from private, public, individuals, business partners, big and small, no matter what size. Any donation makes a big difference. From even that $1, it makes a difference in the lives of families in our community. But so we accept donations from everybody, and a lot of great foundations partner with us. The Farver Foundation, the South Florida Hunger Coalition, is one of our partners, and we're funded also as well from the Children's Service Council of Broward County, which is a huge organization that does so many great things for children in our community and their families. And they're one of our
big book ladies are not going to be able to be holding up the line anymore.
Title I is phenomenal, and they, since the pandemic started, Title I ladies have never missed a distribution. They're pretty on it.
But they hold up the line. Have you noticed the theme of my issue is the holding up of the line?
Books. Yes, they do though. They get out these awesome books to the kids all throughout this, the whole pandemic. They were giving out books. Yeah. I mean, my child's library, even, one of the ladies would come and give me a few for Luca, my son, and it was wonderful. And I think all these extra components and partners really, it's a great synergy for the community when we work together. And when we work together, we do such great things. And even when it's a few of us, but let me tell you, there was distributions during this pandemic when you would see 20 people come out to volunteer. We would be done in like 30 minutes, packing 200, 400 bags. It was insane. So I just think, when we work together, when we donate to the right organizations as well, we don't have overhead as an organization. We're about to soon. We need to rent a location soon, and we'll have those growing pains as well. But, we don't have staff. And we really, all you donate really goes to food. And it really makes a big difference. When you donate to the bigger organizations, you're really paying for salaries and operations. And I encourage everybody, when they donate local, donate small. Remember the small organizations and the front lines. We're small but mighty, and we love our community, and we believe in collaboration. And that's why I think as a smaller organization, we've really been successful, because we understand the value of working with great partners in the community who believe in our mission and our vision, and really have carried us.
Yeah, I'm always impressed. You always have new people coming out, but the truth is you've got a good operation going, and there's really good people. I encourage everybody to check out the Pantry. I had the website up. Hold on, I think Peter switched it out. Check it out. And you know what? Even if you can't donate money, find out about volunteering, because it's actually kind of fun when you hang out with the cool people from the Pantry. I think. Absolutely. You can volunteer your time in any way. Your time is truly valuable, because again, we have no staff, so that muscle really goes a long way. Yeah, it really does.
For sure.
You guys always need help, and I think it's really important. And I think it's the most important way for people to get involved is to help feed their community, because really if we can't do that, there's really not a whole lot of else that matters. So
this is basic. It's a basic need. And nobody should struggle to put food in their plates. I mean, honestly, 1 in 5 children in South Florida are going to bed hungry, and that was pre-pandemic. So I can only imagine, where people are at today. And so and again, it's children. It's like going to a playground when you say 1 in 5 and going 1, 2, 3, 4 hungry. 1, 2, 3, 4 hungry. It's a lot of kids in the community struggling. And it shouldn't be that way. Not in America.
So you just, and we should have talked about this sooner, but tell people how it is that people qualify to get get the pantry. Like if people who are in need, what do you need to do to get on the list for the pantry?
So it's a very simple process. We take on schools that are 90% or more free reduced breakfast and lunch. So this means 90% of the school is signed up to receive that free and reduced lunch, which identifies 90% of the school in need and in poverty. So we take on this school, and then it's open to anybody in the school. Anybody who needs a helping hand, all they need to do is register with us once a year. And then they just sign in and put the number of their household every other distribution. And then you can even, outside of just being a family at the school, even if you're a teacher's assistant who makes $11 an hour, you're a custodian, you are a cafeteria worker, anybody who works within the walls of this school, this hub in the community, has access to the pantry then, and all they have to do, is register that once a year and then come and sign in on the days that we come, and we send out messages to them via textedly. We use that platform to inform the families like, hey, we're going to be here tomorrow at your school from this time to this time. Please just hit confirm to let us know you'll be showing up, and that's all it really takes. It's really 5 schools.
Which 5 schools are you, I know, but what 5 schools are you currently servicing in Broward?
So we're at 10 schools, but we're at 5 sites. So these are schools that are in close vicinity. So we have families from Sterling Elementary, Orange Brook Elementary, Lake Forest, Orange Brook, West Hollywood Elementary, Pembroke Pines Elementary, North Side, Martin Luther King, Lake Forest, and then we have Gulfstream Early Learning Center. We're picking up a school in the Northeast Quadrant, and that is going to be hopefully Park Ridge Elementary in Pompano, because it's a very underserved area. So I think I'm right there.
Right. That's cool. So people, if you have any ability to help out, it's really important. Right. So basically, guys, Z's serving 10 schools worth of families that are in need. Now, this is one of those things where on the one hand, it's awesome, but on the other hand, it's pathetic that this is needed. But you guys, you need to, anybody who's local, please check it out. Go out to one of the distributions. You always can sign up on her website, mobileschoolpantry.org. Register as a volunteer and sign up for distributions. And now there's not going to be the morning packing shift.
No. I'm looking forward to all of this. I'm excited for our families to come back and shop again, and for it to be client choice, because that's a big part of food waste. Because we are diverse here too, we want to make sure we're giving foods out that are culturally appropriate to our families, and we do try to do that in each zip code that we visit, understanding the needs of our community. So I'm excited for them to have the choice, though, because if somebody doesn't like something that we're packing in a bag, somebody else will like it 2 times more and take an extra, handful of something. And that helps with food waste. Just because somebody needs a helping hand doesn't mean we have to just hand them a box of food and let them be on their way. I think it's important to give that choice and that dignity back when we're giving back. And I think that's also a big part of Mobile School Pantry's model, is that client choice. So I'm excited for families to come and to touch again, and to choose and to take what they and the kids come and they count. We have numbers in front of items in the old days, pre-COVID, in the old days. And that's the best part about it, is the kids coming and counting their produce, so they get to practice their math and they get to ask questions and taste different things. And I think it's an exciting part about what we do.
I think that's awesome. I'm excited. So your first day back with the bus is Wednesday?
Yeah, so the bus is Wednesday at Hollandale, and in Hollandale at Gulfstream Early Learning Center. This is our first pop-up ever for our Fill a Bag, Feed a Family market. Our flyer is here. I'll be posting about it. You can follow us at Mobile School Pantry on Instagram, on Facebook.
Peter, pay attention. Are you going to promote this? Peter will promote this, I'm sure.
Yes, from 1 to 5. We'll be there. It'll be very affordable. We accept all forms of payment, from Zelle to Venmo, PayPal, CASHAPP, and then we will have SNAP. You'll be able to use your EBT card soon enough. We're working with the Department of Agriculture to get our equipment, and so that families could also use their food stamps as well to purchase food off the bus.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. And then, you know, when you fill your bag up with healthy foods, you're really helping our mission of sustainability and helping us feed our families at our schools. And it's just an easy way for us to fundraise while really helping others in our community have access to our model. And I think there's no better way, honestly.
Yeah, no, and I'm gonna at some point I'm sort of gonna copy your model there, because I basically have this idea of taking the clothing pantry, a clothing, you know, closet, and having it be mobile so that people who have court dates, job interviews, whatever, just don't have. And I also love the idea of selling things to raise money to give things. I think that's where it's really at. Like that's the cool model. So I kind of, you know, like you're my inspiration. You're my idol. I'm going to get my closet.
I love it. And we miss you. We missed you the last, time, and we'll miss you this Wednesday.
I'll be back. I like that bus. I'll be back. And, I get to be in the mountains for a month. So I have running water. I can hear running water. Which is really cool. All right. Thank you so much, Z, for coming on. Guys, reach out. Peter, do you have anything you want to add? Or are you just going to sit in cognito? Because I can see him back there.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah, he's waving.
Well,
are you done?
I really appreciate the opportunity to be on here today, Jen.
I don't know hand gesture. He's making like hand gestures to me. Oh, he's telling me to check my text. Okay. Okay, he wants me to ask you, are there any organizations or groups that are working against your success?
I wouldn't say that. I think,
he's being a pastor.
Everybody's doing something different, and everybody's doing great work in the community. I think we all do things a little differently. I think our school pantry program is a little different than most in the community, just because it's run by us and not by a food bank. I think that's different. The big difference with us in our school pantry and a food bank school pantry is we have a niche, and it's school pantries only, really. And that's our model. And I think when you work with food banks in the school pantry program across our nation, it's different, because the schools have to go and pick up the food. They have to do the food. They set up the food, where we come in and we do the whole thing from contacting the families to, getting the food there. I drive the truck myself.
Yes, you do.
So it's just a more hands-on program. So I wouldn't say competition. I think we each do something different, but our niche is really school pantries. And it's really, that's what we do. We don't do too much else outside of this new program that we're coming out with. It's our focus, and it's our baby, really. It's very passion driven. So it's different when you're working with a bigger organization. It becomes a job. And I think for us, it's a passion. And those who volunteer with us are passionate about helping and giving back in our community. But we're all doing different work, at different levels.
Yeah, that's a very politically correct way to say that. When I have volunteered with Feeding South Florida many, many times, and there's no comparison for people who are wondering, like, there's no comparison when you're in the Feeding South Florida warehouse, like a cog in a machine, just shoving processed packaged foods in boxes and inspecting some of the, you want to talk about touching disgusting stuff. Oh, don't even get me started on that place. But like, when you're at the school pantry, you're really literally handing the food to the people who need the food. It's just, there's a lot more connection there than you can get from a place like Feeding South Florida, like no comparison.
Yeah, food banks are a little different than, individual pantries. We are the arm into the community, and they are the hub which takes all the money and food. Yeah.
All right. So Z, everybody follow Mobile School Pantry, get involved, volunteer, do what you got to do. Thank you for coming on our little show.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this all the way up there.
Oh, yeah. No, it's fun. Apparently, it's a good thing I can, because otherwise we wouldn't have a show tonight.
Yeah, it's true. Well, enjoy your time, and thank you so much. And come and fill your bag and feed a family on Wednesday at 1 to 5 at Gulfstream Early Learning Center.
Thank you, Z. All right, all. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
All right. And now my computer is doing that flashing screen thing again, so that hopefully I don't stroke out. Peter has put up focus on Florida for me. Apparently he is running this. So there has been some serious legislation in our state that Ron DeSantis has signed some significant legislation that is very, very mind police oriented. And one of those things is basically doing political belief surveys that they're saying is to foster diversity in academia. But it seems a little bit like the mind police to me. So this new law will survey university students and faculty about their political beliefs. That's a little creepy to me. I got to tell you, I'm really was hoping you would come. You were going to be in this conversation, Peter, because this was one of the articles that I was thinking you wanted to talk about. But this is similar to me, how the ban of teaching critical race theory. There have been a series
Tell
of
me if the audio is okay.
Yeah, the audio is fine, actually.
Fine, then we'll stick to this.
So do you have something you want to say about the new law?
Well, I think that this is, and again, this is just something that I think is going to be a major net positive for DeSantis. And the reason I say that is because one of the problems that we've seen over the past several years is this lack of diversity of thought on college campuses. You know, somebody, I think Jerry Seinfeld mentioned that, he refuses to go to college campuses to do comedy because he can't be edgy at all. Like there is this over woke culture that has infiltrated so many colleges throughout the country. Now, of course, I don't know how serious of an issue it is in the state of Florida. Florida happens to be one of the more unique states. There are hundreds of thousands of college students in the state of Florida. I mean, between Tallahassee for FSU and Gainesville for UF, there's probably 100,000 students combined right there, at least close to it, I would think, at this point.
Yeah.
And so when you're dealing with that much of what are considered to be liberal bastions, but there's really this control of the narrative, if you will, again, they run people off of college campuses. And that doesn't mean that guys aren't, grifters. We all know who they are. But this idea that you're going to suppress thought is going to lead to this. It's going to lead to this authoritarianism. And my goodness, let me tell you something. DeSantis, who I do say is going to be president in 3 years, he is a smart Trump. He is going to get stuff done that the Donald could never get done because he was incompetent. But this guy ain't incompetent. He knows exactly what he's doing. And Jen and I actually spoke earlier today. He's not only a very shrewd politician, but he's got some really smart people working behind him.
He's very strategic.
Every move he makes is overcalculated. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't give a damn about getting Democrat voters because the truth of the matter is he doesn't need to. He just needs to get his base and he needs to get independents. And if he gets that, he's not only going to win re-election, but he's very likely going to be the next president. So when he makes a move like
you keep getting on the same DeSantis tangent. Let's talk about the legislation.
Well, the legislation is effectively saying that you have to disclose your beliefs, but this gets back to the principal problem here, which is lack of diversity of thought on college campuses. And when you do something like that, you open the floodgates for an authoritarian like DeSantis to come along and put forward legislation that basically says, okay, you're going to play it your way. Now we're going to play it our way. We're basically going to force you to admit. And now, again, I think this is unconstitutional, what he's doing. But at the same time,
I think it is. I do think it is too.
But at the same time, again, it's no different than with the way he handled COVID. He took a calculated risk that by just keeping things open, you would have similar results as to what you would have in other parts of the country. And you know what? Compared to New York and California, they have been similar. And that, to me, speaks to his desire to basically do whatever he has to do to win, no matter who he has to run over in order to get there. That's more important to him than anything else. And again, to the Democratic voter to the liberal voter, they're going to see legislation like this and go bananas. But the truth is, a lot of people agree with this. A lot of people think that there is too much of a lack of diversity of thought on college campuses. Whether it's true or not, it's all about perception. And the perception is we are not allowed to discuss conservative principles on college campuses. Ergo, DeSantis does this. It doesn't really matter if he's appeasing, too many voters in the state of Florida. It means that he's leading the charge for the conservative movement around the United States. That's why he makes decisions like this. And that's why making this decision, while wrong, he set himself up for this. Or I should say, the Democratic Party set themselves up for this. And again, Christina, it's not a question of whether Trump knew what he was doing. It's a question of what the people in the GOP were willing to do. The GOP, ever since the Reagan Revolution, this is going back to Sandra Day O'Connor being the first woman on the Supreme Court. The conservatives have been stacking the court since 1981. This is not a new thing. This is something they have always done. And the big difference is Mitch McConnell is a bull in a china shop who will stop at nothing to get what he wants. And Chuck Schumer is... What's Chuck Schumer, Jen? How would you like to describe Chucky the Schume?
Useless, feckless, weak, emasculated. I don't know.
Would you ever use those words to describe Mitch McConnell?
No. I have a whole different set of words for Mitch McConnell. They're usually
words
more
that you
like
probably don't want to say on a live stream. Probably not.
Correct. But suffice to say that's more of the evil variety.
Yes, but now, on the one hand, you have this policy that, obviously DeSantis is putting forward that I think is going to give him a net positive. But the other story, which is not getting talked about, which is a massive net negative, is DeSantis signs a bill that mandates cities keep using fossil fuels. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, he's good with within one day he does something cool and something totally horrible. It's like he's really playing all sides. That's what he's doing.
But as I said, it's kind of like what we say at the local level about Wasserman Schultz. Wasserman Schultz is open for business. Ron DeSantis is really open for business because the only reason he's doing this is because big oil and big oil interests are formulating their positions right now to get behind DeSantis for president. So he's doing exactly what they want. That's all this is. And it is so effing disgusting.
But this bill is a real problem. Also, I think it's a violation of home rule, which our current state legislature has been chipping away at home rule for quite some time now. But this is a real problem.
Well, it really makes me wonder how far they're going to go, how far Tallahassee is willing to go in terms of chipping away at home rule, because that is something that on the one hand, they don't want when it comes to counties being able to make their own decisions as far as how their energy grid is going to look. So they're not going to completely take it away under the circumstances that they wouldn't be able to control this. They wouldn't be able to put themselves in a position where if cities want to only do new construction or counties in general want to only do new construction that meet green energy or green,
they're not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to restrict. This bill makes it so that counties, municipalities cannot do anything that would restrict a consumer's choice to use fossil fuels, even if that is not what's in the best interest of the municipality.
But now this becomes an even more interesting issue of, is this going to lead to a bigger floodgate when it comes to actual statewide policies that people want to go after, which in this case, if we're in the environmental movement, having a ban on plastic in the state of Florida, I think, is essential, aside from trying to do a solar initiative or other types of clean energy. If we were able to block plastic, and there are a lot of ways that it could be done, but one of the reasons we can is because of home rule. This is something where it's like, could DeSantis potentially be biting off more than he can chew? That is something that needs to be discussed. Is he going to bite off more than he can chew? This, to me, strikes me as something where he may bite off more than he can chew. He wants to be president, but there's also a very specific home rule in place in Florida that protects the GOP and their fossil fuel interests. Now, of course, the Democrats of Florida have fossil fuel interests and big sugar interests, but they don't control the state. The GOP does. And because of that, this is the hill that they die on, basically.
Yeah. It's pretty pathetic. And especially given what we're seeing now with the climate. And, someone had asked earlier if we're going to talk about the Surfside building collapse, and we're going to talk about that.
We're going to talk about it in a context that nobody else is talking about it in. It is an absolute ungodly tragedy what happened in Surfside, and it's probably dozens and dozens of more people that are dead. And even if they weren't dead due to the collapse, they are going to be dead because they have an ability to drink water for several days. They're going to die of dehydration is basically what's going to happen if they're buried under so much rubble.
But, but why are we not talking about the real issue here? I mean,
and nobody is talking about this, which is, you really think this is the only building in South Florida that has foundational problems? Are you kidding me? And this building wasn't even that big. It was 12 stories. You got buildings that are 30 stories high. That makes it even worse.
But, when we're talking about the sea level rise and saltwater intrusion, there is no doubt that saltwater erodes away at the concrete. It gets through into the rebar, and it absolutely affects the stability of a structure. And when you're dealing with these constant beach developments, this is going to be an increasing problem. This is not going to be a one-off, people. And as somebody who worked in condo association litigation, and actually my former mentor and someone who I admire greatly is the attorney for that condo association. And I can tell you, and one of these articles talks about that association was told 2 years ago that they needed to have work done to repair the building because it was sinking. So what this shows me is that these condo associations this association probably spent the last 2 years bickering amongst themselves, fighting over bids and contractors, fighting with the residents who didn't want to pay a special assessment. And this thing sat undealt with for 2 years. And it wasn't nefarious. Nobody intentionally wanted to hurt anybody, but it's a combination of Mother Nature and associations of people that just do not want to pay the money to do what they need to do. If you saw how these people fought with each other, I mean, you picture the concrete jungle, these commandos will go at it. And so they knew for 2 years. They've known for 2 years that their building needed work.
How's the connection now?
You know what? I wish I could tell you, but I have my own problems. So like on my end, my whole monitor is flashing like this. And until
you were flickering before. I'm not getting a signal right now that says that the connection is bad.
No, I think you're fine. I think you're fine. Okay. So for people who, want to really, this is a tragedy, but when all is said and done, there will be an evaluation as to what happened. And I would bet that the relationship between saltwater intrusion and the connection between that and concrete is going to play a factor. And I think it's going to be really interesting. And people who are in that connecting building and other condo owners that are worried, they should be, because this building is only from the 80s. There's a lot of older buildings down there, and there's even newer buildings where people cut corners. If you think that developers don't cut corners and associations don't want to save bucks, and then you're not. I mean, this is going to be a problem. This is not going to be the only one.
I can give you guys an exclusive. When Jen was running for Congress, we would go to the city commission meetings fairly regularly. It was a great opportunity. City commission meetings is actually, for those of you out there who are thinking about running for office, city commission meetings are actually one of the more effective ways to meet local residents who vote. That is definitely an effective method. I would always recommend putting in the time. Some communities are better in terms of the time that they allocated for, but I can tell you that I went down to Surfside a handful of times. The biggest complaint, the biggest by far, was saltwater intrusion. You would see residents this is over a year ago. So you had residents lining up to talk about how we need to move to a Green New Deal type infrastructure because these buildings are getting destroyed. Now, an interesting caveat that obviously not anybody really knows out there, but Surfside happens to be the southernmost point of this congressional district.
Yes.
The city commission recently flipped. There were 3 seats on that city commission that changed. They were all corporate, and now they are represented by people-powered individuals like our friend Tina Paul and Ileana Salazar. And I can assure you that Ileana, who is a city commissioner, was one of the people who was showing up at these meetings talking about the damage that saltwater intrusion was causing to these residence buildings. So this is something that's been talked about for a while. I am curious to know if there is sort of this up the ladder, up the chain type conversation. Jen's not so sure, but I'm wondering if there were complaints filed, maybe not just in the building that collapsed, but other buildings as well, and no one's doing anything about it.
Well, no, not only, well, I don't think that there were any official complaints filed about it, but upon like these buildings are regularly inspected. And it was noticed that this building was sinking over a period of time. Most buildings do, right? Like there is a certain amount of sinking and settlement. Like a lot, some of that is just things that happen. But this was at an unsteady, an unnatural, not at a good rate. And they knew that that was happening. So yeah, this is going to be a really nice, juicy lawsuit.
But I think it's just the beginning. And again, Surfside, the best community in the district that we live in is the town that Jen lives in, which is Davie, in my opinion. And the best community in the Dade portion of our district, without question, is Surfside. So this is not a it's got its wealthy pockets. It's a small town, but overall, it's a very nice, quaint area. It's not over the top. It is not Sunny Isles, and it is not Aventura. It is not like that in any way. So a 12-story building in Surfside, we would consider to be a tall building by Surfside standards. Here's the problem. There are condos and different types of high-rise buildings that stretch all along the coastline, whether in Sunny Isles, which is the ultimate concrete jungle if there ever was one. Bow Harbor, there's not a lot there, and that's that has a conservative board, so they're not as keen about building skyscrapers.
No, they keep it. They're pretty limited there. I mean, Sunny Isles is ripe for disaster.
Sunny Isles is a great example. Aventura is another one in certain places. But then you also have the 3 coastline communities within Broward, which is Hollywood, Hallandale, and Dania. And there is no question that there are towers to the sky, especially in Hallandale, in some parts of Hollywood, not too much, but Dania, absolutely. And there is no question that saltwater intrusion is going to be a problem, if it's not already, on a mega scale. So I can imagine that the HOAs in many of these coastline communities are now you want to see what real climate change looks like front and center? You're seeing it right now. This is it. And this is just the beginning. So because you have decided to neglect this ish for so long, it is going to start to happen. Maybe not at the frequency yet that is going to look like the whole world is on fire, but we're not that far away. And the western part of the United States is literally on fire. 120 degrees in certain places. I mean, I don't know how much. Speaking of fires, I want to talk about what it is that people can do to help. Right. So people want to know, what can they do to help with the Surfside? I had asked our producer if he could put in the description. We had that website. There was a link that had all the different organizations that are collecting things for the residents of Surfside, people that are affected. Correct.
Okay. So there is a link. I believe it was a Channel 10 story, Channel 10 News, that had a list of all the organizations. But something that I think is really, really important. So I'm going to have a little bit of a rant because my cousin Ryan. Before you rant, 2 people I do want to shout out, because there are a lot of opportunists that get involved for the photo op. I'm looking at our Congresswoman, I'm looking at Senator Rick Scott, and I'm looking at Senator Marco Rubio. But hats off to State Senator Jason Pizzo. He has been there every day, round the clock. And of course,
the Miami mayor, Daniela Levine Cava. She has done a great job,
Yes.
as best job as you could possibly do. And someone would say, well, what is a good job? A good job is being on the scene and doing anything and everything as an elected official that you are asked to do.
And being transparent and communicating what's going
Correct.
on. Sometimes that's all you can do.
Yeah. And listen, Jen doesn't necessarily want to talk about it, but she has a cousin who is a fire chief in Miami-Dade.
No, and I'm gonna talk about it because this is important. So my cousin, shout out to Ryan Rothenberg, Miami-Dade. He's a fire chief, and so he's like, somebody who is in charge, right? Like normally he's in charge, but he is also a member of and part of this elite urban search and rescue team that goes all over the place. And so he is now at the scene in his capacity on the search and rescue team, not in his capacity as chief for Miami-Dade Fire. So right now he is up to his head in rubble like everybody else and hasn't slept in days. And I want to talk about that bill that we were talking about with Jason Smith, our friend with the firefighters union, because if you people want to help, then stand up for our firefighters, because my cousin is now breathing in all of whatever is going on in that rubble and that debris. And that is why firefighters have an inordinate, exponentially higher amount of different types of cancers. And those kinds of illnesses are things that get negotiated out of their healthcare agreements so that they don't get coverage. They'll get coverage for this type of cancer, but not that type of cancer. And all of this nonsense. There is now a piece of legislation that is out there. It's a House resolution. I forget the number.
Hey, I'm putting it in the description right now.
Okay. So, well, there's two, but one of them, what's good about it, and this is something that we believe we need to work on. Okay. Is that the one that presumes that all injuries and all issues were accumulated or were assumed on the job? Because there's two pieces that are very important for firefighters.
Yeah, there's HR. Let me, you know what? Continue talking. I'll look it up right now.
So the one piece of legislation that is really important for firefighters, the bill will essentially say that whatever their ailments, their issues, their injuries, it will be presumed that it is from being on the job. And that is really important for firefighters because a lot of their injuries are from systemic, regular, it's not one injury. It's not like you can necessarily prove exactly how you got it, but it is kind of strange that you would have this very strange version of cancer that only firefighters get, right? So this law would basically open up for them the amount of healthcare options that they have based on whatever their ailments are. So that's number one that we need to do for the firefighters. The other one, the other important piece of legislation, it essentially, to me, from what I read, Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like another avenue like what the PRO Act is doing to sort of try to weaken the right to work laws. And that would be to basically be supporting firefighters in joining unions, having greater negotiations, stronger collective bargaining. That was more of like you find that one. I'm not sure what that one is, but that one also is good. But the PRO Act would negate the need for whatever that was. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that one is just another way to go against our right to work laws, which is important. So for people who want to help, support your firefighters because they're out there, like, literally risking their lives. So,
this is and HR 2499 is the related bill to 2586, the Federal Firefighters Fairness Act of 2021.
Yes.
So basically, our firefighters, and I don't know if it's like this everywhere. Obviously, in Florida's a right to work state. So, and again, like anything, you put too much power in the hands of unions, you're going to have shiftlessness and lack of quality in the work. And if you put too much power in the hands of corporate management, you are going to have corporate fascism in many ways. And so having that balance is very important, but I think universally everyone supports firefighters. You know what?
When we talked about it before, like I really think when we talk about defunding the police, we need to simultaneously use that as a segue to please support our firefighters. Please support our firefighters.
The better argument that needs to be made about police that I don't think a lot of people understand is not that police shouldn't be fairly compensated. They should. The problem here is that, like anything, the money is going where it doesn't belong. 50% of citywide budgets are going to the police department.
Right.
Now, we all know that you've got, again,
but that's a better percentage than, let's say, the percentage of our national budget that goes towards military.
Oh, of course. And again, it's all interconnected because everything is about having a police state, because that's where we are. We are a police state now. I think everybody kind of, agrees to at least to an extent that is what our country has become. And so you have to maintain a military operation at home, and they're trying to do it abroad. See, they're trying to do it in both places, which is kind of interesting. And again, like I said, we're not going to get into the weeds on it tonight, but Thursday night, as part of our news, we are going to talk about Biden bomb. Again, I'm not giving Biden any credit for doing anything. Let's just be honest. I don't think he makes any decisions. I'm just saying. But the Biden administration bombed Syria and Iraq. So it wasn't just one. It was a 2-4, baby. We were going to do it better than Trump did. We're going to bomb Syria and Iraq. How do you like that?
I do not like that one bit.
The media is not going to talk about it. They're not going to talk about it. And the way that they framed it, ABC News was the only major outlet that I saw that actually covered it. And the context in which they covered it was that they're dropping bombs on Iraqi militia groups. It's
you
just
mean the same groups that we funded?
Everything's interconnected.
We just keep switching.
It's just one big cycle. The truth of the matter is, and this is where a lot of the Russia stuff comes from, Russia backs Syria, and Syria has control over a pipeline that we want Israel to control. That's basically it.
Yeah, no. This whole thing is over that. Of course it is.
It's always about money. It's always about power. So when somebody screams Russia, Russia, Russia into your ear, trust me, 99.9% of the population doesn't have a clue as to what actually goes on. We have actually run for federal office, and we have a little bit more knowledge than most, and we still don't even know that much. We know enough to know where the BS is coming from, but in terms of what is actually true and what isn't, that is almost impossible to determine.
It is, and especially now that we don't have real journalists that are really out there.
Again, how about this? Everyone talks about the fact that Fox News was determined in court to not actually be news. Did you know that it has been determined recently that Rachel Maddow is not news? But no one's going to talk about. Wait
a minute. I could have told you that 10 years ago without having.
If you're telling me that, it means that she was sued in court, and the summary judgment was not to reward damages because it was decided. The summary judgment was Rachel Maddow is not news.
Not news. No.
How do you like that?
It's sad. It's how far she has fallen.
But you're never going to hear about that. And conservative outlets don't waste their time talking about stuff like that because they don't care. Because they don't. That's the difference. We have to really figure out our priorities, and figuring out what are the things that we can control are very important. And so much of the stupid infighting that goes on the left is pointless. And that is what we have to weed ourselves out from. The issues we're talking about right now, the importance of making sure that firefighters have proper benefits.
Seriously, people.
The ability to negotiate proper terms on their contracts. That is immensely important. And Jen and I are going to work to lobby congressional representatives to endorse these bills. These bills are, and not only that, you know what's great about these two firefighter bills? One is a page long and the other is about 2.5 pages long. That is
because it's not complicated, people. Take care of your firefighters.
I mean, you want to talk about simple? Yeah. One of the things that made Alan Grayson a good congressional representative when he was a representative in Florida was that his bills were very simple. No more than 4 pages. Anyone could read them. Anyone could understand them. Yeah. You have people who write bills. I guarantee you the infrastructure bill they're trying to put forward right now, it's probably hundreds, if not thousands.
Oh, I'm sure it's ridiculous. And there'll be all sorts of other crap in there that doesn't need to be in there. People support your firefighters.
When the CARES, as just as a good example, when they were passing the CARES Act last year in the midst of a devastating, deadly pandemic, Nancy Pelosi somehow was able to get the GOP to slip in because it was a bipartisan bill because the Democrats have the House. The Republicans
you know how much I love bipartisanship.
Oh, of course.
Bipartisanship is everything. So, stop it. So let's do some announcements. Let's talk about our Patreon. Let's get people, do your spiel.
We are growing. I think we got another Patreon this evening, potentially.
Woo-hoo!
We'll find out if that actually happened. But, you know, if you do like our channel, if you like our content, and as you can see, we are still getting suppressed. I have to share this every which way possible to let everyone know that this is what's going on. But we've got a really
until supplies, as long as supplies last. If you are a $5 or $10 Patreon joiner, that we have the new Lulu stickers.
I'll go so far as to offer 2 Lulu stickers for the $10 Patreons, $5 for the one.
Okay, if he wants to be generous, good, because I'm going to have to walk you through mailing everything out so that you can get that stuff out for the
Look at
new
how
people.
cute this is. It's the cutest thing you've ever seen.
It is. No. Here we go.
Is the little lady here? Hi, Lou. Hi, little
This
princess.
is the cutest thing you've ever seen.
Hi, little munchkin. Aw.
Yeah.
Hi, Lou.
Another announcement. Okay, so everybody should know that I have very good news. The Broward County chapter of Florida's Democratic Environmental Caucus is under new management, and it is under good management.
Why don't you rephrase? You should rephrase it. It is now under non-corporate management.
Okay,
that's really what it's about.
And so now I can happily promote the Florida's Environmental Caucus. It is actually Broward's chapter is being headed up by 4 really great progressive environmental fighters. Stephen Meza and Tiffany for Grantham are the co-chairs, and Mary Hope Schwabel and oh my God, Walker. What's his first name? I'm losing my mind.
R. David Walker.
David Walker. Yeah, sorry. Our co-chairs. So I think it's going to be really good. So they're wanting people to get involved. The old caucus guard was not as welcoming to new people. So get out there, join the environmental caucus. It's definitely worth working with.
I had a conversation with a gentleman the other day who's trying to convince us that going the Green Party route is the answer. And I am trying to tell people that it can absolutely be done. And I guarantee you the majority of people, and I have no problem with anyone who wants to push for green, libertarian, movement for People's Party. I have a feeling and a theory that the majority of these individuals have never attempted or have been a member of their local DEC, of their county party. They have not been a precinct committee person. They have not been involved with a caucus. They have not done anything to attempt some type of a systemic takeover. And for every person who says that it can't be done, Nevada has done it. And there are other states that are going to accomplish it. Will they accomplish it faster than Florida? Absolutely they will. But that doesn't mean that you have to start somewhere. Florida is very unique. It is heavily gerrymandered. It has a very old population. And you have a very Biden blue county.
Yeah.
So you have that issue. You have a lot of people who are already there that are political lifers. They've been in it for decades. A lot of them are Dixiecrats. A lot of them are conservative. A lot of them simply don't want to see change, or they're moderate. And they don't like seeing young millennials, Gen Zers, or even Gen Xers, quite frankly, come in and try to create change. This is their little club, and they've been doing it for a long time. And they are going to stand on ceremony, asking, why is it, that you want to come in and try to change things, and you're just trying to ruin our party? No, we're trying to make things better. And there was a time where you attempted to make things better, and maybe people during the 60s, for example, felt jaded about the fact that the corporate overlords ended up winning. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a new opportunity, a new generation, a new time.
So guys, check out the Environmental Caucus. That's the moral of the story. That was what I was trying to say. That was my...
Join the organization. Join your local DEC. These things are essential, because if you do want to see change, it can happen. And what better place? I mean, Lord knows... Considering what's going on in Surfside and what may be going on in other places, if there ever is a time to be involved with the environmental caucus throughout the state, if there's ever a time to support Bull Sugar, if there's ever a time to support the Sunrise Movement, this is it.
Yeah.
Get involved.
I mean, and normally, I have not been a big proponent of the caucus, but that was because of certain people that were in charge of the caucus that are no longer there. And so I think that's cool. I think that's good. And I'm having a real positive feeling about Mitchell Stolberg right now, who would be smiling very broadly at this change of management at the caucus.
the greatest loss from COVID, and I believe COVID killed Mitch. There's no question. Whether it was actually the virus that took him or if it was the result of what he put himself through due to the virus. He is somebody who always put in the work and always to a fault put in the work.
Yeah, I was thinking that when we do our summit, we're going to have a little thing where we do like a memoriam about Mitchell, because I was thinking about it and like, I can't wrap my head around doing anything for healthcare without at least talking about Mitchell and recognizing, because to some extent, he was like what Bernie was on a national level, really locally as far as Medicare. Mitchell was the one who was like, I mean, he was really like at the baseline of really creating that here. And I just,
nobody that I ever met when I was in politics was a more kind-hearted person.
Yeah.
And nobody was more encouraging to me to run for office than him. He was just a good man. And
he was awesome. And yeah.
Jack Lieberman was a good man.
Jack Lieberman, I know. Yeah.
It's just and again, you get rocked, you get I mean, look, it's hard enough as it is. I mean, Christina Stewart's a good friend of ours. She's a fan of the show and she's here. She happens to be in a part of the country that has much more of a stronger infrastructure brewing in terms of non-corporate progressivism in the state of Florida. Yeah. Down here, it's tougher. It just is. And again, part of it, like I said, is part of the population, part of the age. Here's an interesting thing that not a lot of people know. Broward County is the bluest county by far in the state of Florida. Did you know that they haven't had quorum with their local DEC in 4 years? Do you know how insane that is? That's insane. If you haven't
that's what you call a state party that has no infrastructure and is really weak and is basically just a corporate mouthpiece.
But again, the biggest reason why there hasn't been quorum in 4 months and in 4 years, excuse me, is because of our Congresswoman, because she has no interest in growing the party. The only thing that she's interested in is maintaining her power for however long that lasts. If you get more people involved, that requires getting more people who don't think like she does and think like the people that are already there. And that's a problem. So there are open spots, and getting involved at the local level is absolutely essential. Again, I don't discourage people if they want to fight for.
How do people do that, since it's very hard to get in touch with our DEC chair?
Well, again, I have the person's number. You can call them. You can email them. Again, you can take this fight. I'm not really sure where. I mean, again, that's like, well, if you can't get through to the county chair, do you go all the way to the state chair? But what's Manny Diaz going to do? I guess the only thing I could do is, bother Lourdes, and then I'd get a hold of Manny.
Oh, for God's sake!
But should we?
It shouldn't be that complicated, and that's the problem.
Christina, I have been trying to become a precinct committee person in my county for I can't even tell you how long.
He can't get our D's. He can't get a call.
I cannot get this guy to respond. And not only do I know he doesn't respond, he does it on purpose, because I have another contact who's in the establishment who knows that this person simply refuses to basically do anything. So what that says to me is that this is just another example of the corruption within the state and county party infrastructure that basically says we would rather, as you said before, sink into the ocean than actually solve any problems. And why is that? Very simply, because it is a corporate funded party and there are people who benefit immensely from it being this way. Now, a lot more suffer for it, but those that are benefiting from it, again, it's like the corruption of the capitalist system that we currently have in place. It is an overwhelming majority of people who want to change the current system. To what? I'm not sure. I think moving to a hybrid system is the best option. But there are a lot of people who financially benefit from the corrupt system that we are in. And if you think they will not fight tooth and nail to keep it just the way it is, I don't know what you're looking at. That's what's happening.
What do we have coming up on Thursday?
Thursday is going to be a very interesting show.
We have Julie Oliver and Mike Siegel.
Julie Oliver and Mike Siegel, two great progressive candidates who ran for Congress in Texas, have now started their organization and are going to be talking about how to gather and basically excite the voting base all throughout the year. This is one thing that the GOP does very effectively. They don't just wait until election time to get voters involved. They make sure that everyone is engaged throughout the year. That's why they kick butt in elections, because they are very committed to maintaining their power structure. And that's why they control, I think, like 31 or 32 state legislatures throughout the country. That's a domination. I mean, it really is when you think about it.
Yeah, no, they're winners and the Dems are the losers. And that's just the way it is.
So if you want to change that narrative, and it is interesting how the Democrats are so hell-bent on going in on Texas, but hey, you know, it's what it is. I still think that what they're trying to do.
You see what Christina's saying?
What's Christina saying? Has the forms during reorganization times every 2 to 4 years. You don't need to go through the DC. Oh, okay. Oh, that's good to know.
So
okay.
just you got to contact Joe Scott.
Just got to go talk to Joe. All right, I'll send him a message.
Joe.
Thank you, Christina. I appreciate that. That makes it easier. Why worry about a guy who doesn't want to help? Just go to a guy who and Joe's a man of honor.
I want to go around them all the time. I don't ever see the need of engaging with them.
Well, like you said, the only reason that you have to engage with them is because they create a roadblock to getting the voters. That's a problem. Now, with that said, you know, we obviously we're going to talk to Mike and Julie about the organization that they're forming. And heck, you know, maybe it's a few things that they may have learned from Nevada. Maybe it's some of the things that we can learn and implement here in Florida. We're also going to be talking to Jordan Cheriton, a good friend.
Wait,
obviously,
is Jordan coming on Thursday?
Jordan is coming on Thursday. So he will be giving us a briefing. He's been on the road for, I think, a couple of weeks. He was in Pennsylvania for several days. He was in Louisville to cover the 1-year anniversary.
Yeah, guys, if you're not status quo members, then I highly recommend status, 100%. COUP, statuscoup.com. That is actually real journalism. Just so
real
you know.
Journalism. Yeah, no, we definitely, in terms of the best investigative domestic journalists that we have, I may be biased, but Jordan Cheriton is definitely the guy.
Oh, for sure. And then we've got Gray Zone is international. Like, that's kind of how I look at it. And speaking of international, we will be hearing, and shortly, hopefully, we'll be getting Medea back on. Our friend Medea Benjamin just got back from Peru, where there were some very contentious elections. And she's going to come on and talk with us. South America. Oh, Yadira. There you go. That's sweet. So we're going to be talking with her from an international South American news perspective. But yay, Thursday, Jordan's coming on. We'll get to hear all about what's going on in the country.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of good stuff.
No shortage of injustice.
No, there's not. But again, there really needs to be, as I always say, there has to be this checking of the egos at the door. It is very important that we recognize that so much of the BS that goes on social media, you gotta get past it. It's just such a waste of time. We really have to take the initiative and say, all right, this is what we're doing. And like I said, I don't want to discourage people. I understand a lot of people are jaded and they feel like the system isn't working for them anymore. And I agree it isn't working, but that doesn't mean that we can't change it. Most of the time, people just get discouraged and walk away. They say, well, I tried. It's not going to work. It will work because most of the things that we need to do doesn't involve things that are always going to be sexy. The only thing that Donald Trump was ever concerned about was being in the spotlight, doing the sexy thing, which is the rallies and the waving of the flags. Does that accomplish anything? Maybe. I mean, depending on what you're looking to accomplish, like get maybe some petition signed at a rally, and that's nice, but
it helped us.
Yeah, it's a one-off situation. It's not actually something that's sustainable. A lot of the work that goes into the systemic change, it's not sexy. There's a lot of grueling stuff that goes in to, making sure that the change that you're looking for is change that's going to be lasting, not just something that's temporary. And again, a political rally like the ones Bernie did, they're great, but that's not what's going to change anything. And it's true. There were a lot of people who said, well, Bernie had great rallies, but he didn't get the voters out. That is probably true to an extent as well. A lot of what we need to do is build that infrastructure. And I still say the biggest flaw in Bernie's movement between 2016 and 2020 was the lack of infrastructural takeover at state parties. They finally did it in Nevada. And you know what? Knock on wood, I think it's going to pay off for Amy Vilela. Knock on wood. I think it will. That is something that could pay off for a lot of other candidates all throughout the country. You have to change the infrastructure because there are impediments in place that are going to continue to stop us from trying to get this change. And I'll leave you with this. The reason why Nevada is on the right path is because the corporate special interests have pulled their money from the state party in Nevada. That tells you all you need to know.
That's a sign that they're doing the right thing.
Yeah. If those people, if we had a situation here where we literally took over the state party, Big Sugar would put all their money behind the GOP because they would know that they're not open for business anymore. They can't pillage our environment.
Yeah, for sure. So I felt like I felt like we had another announcement, and now I can't think of what it was. Oh, I know what it was. Okay, so Peter, on behalf of our organization, has gotten a place in Akron, and there will be a group of Gen volunteers going up for helping Team Nina get out the vote during election week for her election in August. So, and that's really cool. So we have a group, our Canvas guys down here, that are going to go up and
we've got at least, I think there's going to be at least 8 volunteers going up, super volunteers from Jen's campaign that are going to be heading up there. We're going to see if we could potentially add more, depending on what we end up doing over the next few weeks. We got to get Nina in. As I cannot emphasize enough, she's the one. She is the leader she is the heir.
Well, we're hoping to not just help Canvas, but also we figure one of the things that we really need help with.
More than anything else, what Nina is going to need is poll watchers and poll workers. Yeah. And while canvassing on the final weekend of the election is absolutely important because you want to get as many people out to the polls as possible, and a lot of people always vote late. That's just how it is. So having people engaged, and Akron is very important. Akron is it's another Democratic stronghold that doesn't get the attention that obviously Cleveland does, but still very important nonetheless. So if anyone is in the region, if you're in Pittsburgh, if you're in Detroit, if you're in Lexington or Louisville, hell, even if you're in Chicago and you're able to make the trip, the 3-4 hour trip from whatever distance you may be coming from, Detroit to Cleveland is a short trip. That's like an hour and a half, I think. But you get my point. If you have the ability to get there and lend a hand, because this is not a race that we should be taking any chances on. None whatsoever.
No, she needs to win very, very comfortably.
I agree. Because they are going to screw with her. They already are.
Yeah.
They're already going to try to do whatever they can. And for those who think it doesn't matter that Nina Turner gets to Capitol Hill, well, let me assure you of this. If Nina Turner doesn't get to Capitol Hill, then there's almost no chance that Jen is going to run again. But if Nina does get to Capitol Hill, that might change things in a couple of years. So I would advise you to treat this race like you would treat it if Jen was running. Treat it that way because it's that important. I know I feel that way.
It is. I can't think of another race in the country that single-handedly can make the bigger difference than Nina's. So
I think it'll inject a lot of life into what is a dormant movement on Bernie's side right now.
Yeah.
I think Bernie would love to have her in Congress because I think she's the one person that can carry the torch for him. She has that fire in her. I still remember the day I met her. It's like, I told her you took me to church because she did.
Yeah,
unlike anybody I've ever heard. She has it. She has it. I don't know what it is, but she's got it.
So guys, support Nina. She's our person. And
sorry for the technical difficulties. This is
if you can see what I'm looking at, you would understand true technical difficulties. I'm just glad that my visual to you is presentable. What I'm looking
fantastic. It's absolutely perfect.
My screen is doing this. Like, I'm lucky I'm not stroking. I need to get a new computer. No, Jason said this is a sign of the end.
This is the end. That's a great song.
This is a sign of the end. I've had this laptop, just so you know, since 2016. I had this in Europe with me when I went to Portugal in 2016. So that's a long time for a laptop.
That is definitely a long time for a laptop. No question.
And it's on it. It's flickering. It's dying on me right now.
Well, we hope that you all enjoyed the show. I apologize. I know that you probably love the fact that I wasn't on the screen for that long, and Jen and Z had their basically 45-minute discussion without me. They didn't need me. Why would they need me? But I think they covered most, if not all, of what needed to be covered. Guys, Mobile School Pantry, it's a great organization to
It
support.
really is.
And even though Z didn't want to get into it, there are political forces.
I don't
in
want
the
to get
area
into
that-
it because I want to wrap because I'm going to have seriously, I can't stare at the screen anymore.
Yeah, there are definitely political forces that don't want organizations like that to succeed, but we do want them to succeed. Oh, Sophie! Look at Sophie. Jen, you got to do a sticker for Sophie.
She doesn't normally come on the show.
No, but
She's
so
a captive audience though here with me. So
She
everybody who
definitely
doesn't knows Lulu, but this is Sophie.
Hi, Sophie. Hey, sweetie pie. I'm
And
definitely
Sophie-
a dog person, if you can't tell.
Who,
Very
me?
important. No, me. Well, you.
Oh,
of
yeah.
course you are, but I'm a dog person. Big
Yeah.
time. What would life
so
be without dogs? It would be terrible. There
I
would be
can't
no way.
fathom. I'm not living without
You would
my
never
dog.
be able.
I
you would
tell you,
never
look
be
at
able-
Lulu. Lulu goes, I go, baby. That's it for me.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, Lulu, you're going to have to hang on for a lot more years.
Lulu is gonna be like, I'm gonna have to put her in like a cryo case or something.
I was just going to say, you're going to have to demolition man her and,
I-
basically go into the future, make sure that she's okay. Yeah, I wonder if that's ever going to be a real thing in society.
I don't know, but you would like where I'm staying. Oh, this is the other last announcement. So if you guys join $5 or $10 members, you will get to come on our Wednesday night members only Zoom meeting, which you all will be getting an email invite. And we will be having an evening stroll tour of the cannabis farm and a presentation by Ashley, who is the gentleman that is a master cannabis grower. He's been doing this for 40 years. And he's going to give us, I'll be walking. So we'll do the meeting on Zoom, but I'll probably have to just be out there with my phone, Peter, and walking around and doing it. But so it'll be kind of casual. But if you guys want to see the inner workings of the cannabis farm that I am happenstance happily staying on, none of this cannabis has THC though, but he's ready as soon as it's legal. Right now it's just hemp and CBD.
Well, we really appreciate you guys as always. Hopefully this is the last time we have to deal with any type of serious technical issue.
Yeah.
But
So guys, be Patreons and see our cannabis tour on Wednesday.
we appreciate you. Have a great evening. See you Thursday. And for those
Peace
who are
out.
Patreons, we'll see you Wednesday.